Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Cameronport. Hope that everyone's having a great day, and welcome to my first episode of RK Leadership. Leadership videos where I will be discussing the various aspects and areas of leadership using my knowledge, experience, and experiments. I wanted to create this series of leadership areas to share my knowledge and my experience with the people aspiring to become leaders or existing ones looking to make improvements. Believe me, I'm still a work in progress myself, and I believe that you learn on a daily basis. I will talk about topics such as communication, engagement, recognition, team building, empathy, vision, feedback, performance appraisal, succession planning, hiring, etc. So you ask, why am I doing this? I'm going to go through my why, as I was able to articulate my purpose a few years ago and actually wrote it down. I will share parts of it with you today as it ties into the reason I'm compiling these videos on leadership for you. I also believe that leadership is not something that you're born with, but you can develop the skills over time to turn you into a successful leader. Now notice how I did not use the word manager. As I personally see, these are two different things. A manager is different than a leader, and I will talk more about that throughout my videos. The content I will provide is not just based on theory or books, but rather real life experiences, practices, and lessons learned. I understand that in this day and age, people have a tremendous amount of content with respect to a subject or topic that they have access to. Therefore, it's important to pick what and who you want to listen and develop your own style of doing things. However, there's a certain amount of info that has been tested and proven to be effective, and you need to pay attention to those things. Let me start off by telling you all about my purpose, and then I'll go through my leadership experience and journey, and briefly detail some of the managers and leaders that I've been fortunate to work amongst. So in this part, I'm going to talk to you about my purpose. My purpose in life is to help people. My passions are leadership and entrepreneurship. My passions allow me to help people, which fulfills my purpose. I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to elevate people and help them succeed in their careers and personal lives. Helping people succeed and become happy are the greatest satisfaction and reward that I can achieve. This gives me a true sense of fulfillment in life and in other areas. Leadership is not about yourself. It's not about climbing the corporate ladder. Leadership is about how you impact and change people's lives and careers in a positive way. Whose careers have you elevated? What impact have you had on someone's career or life? Who have you helped succeed and grow? I want to progress and grow every day as a leader myself. I want to empower people to become successful and achieve their goals. As a leader, I want to ensure that people go home to their families feeling good, so that they can transfer that positive energy and share their success with their loved ones, with their kids, and share that happiness with them as well. I want them to feel proud of what they're doing and what they've accomplished, so that they can make their kids and their spouses and loved ones proud as well. I'm hoping that these videos will help you, and I would greatly appreciate your feedback, your comments, any suggestions that you may have, or topics that you want me to focus more on or discuss. All right. So at this stage, I'm going to walk through some my journey in terms of who Rob is, as some of you might be wondering. So here's a little story here's a part of the story, a short highlight of who I am. So my parents immigrated here in Canada back in 1987 from Iran during the war. My parents were both principals back home, and they were very strict, as you can imagine. And I had a very strict upbringing as well. I was shy around some people at times, but I was also a troublemaker in early years of my school. And in our culture, a lot of parents would force their kids to become doctors, engineers, or in some cases, lawyers. However, I really enjoyed, taking electronics apart and pretending I knew how to fix them. So, eventually I was more drawn into the engineering side, and I was a very curious kid as well. And even till today, I'm very curious, and that's why I enjoy learning new things. And I also love playing sports. My favorite sports are hockey and baseball. I was usually the captain of my street hockey or baseball teams back in the days when I was a little bit younger. So fast forward to university, I attended U of T for sciences, as my mother was adamant about me attending U of T because of the name, even after getting accepted to McMaster for electrical engineering. I didn't take studying seriously while I was at U of T, and after a couple years, my GPA was about 0.27. Yes, you heard it correct. It was 0.27, and I went on probation. So I wanted to share a story as to what flipped the switch for me at that point. So I had a psychology, I believe it was a psychology or stat class, and I'd written an exam at that time, and I needed a few marks to pass this exam in order for me to move forward. So I went to my professor after one of the classes, and I said, I kind of pleaded with her to try to get a couple more marks so I can pass this exam. And her direct words, well, she didn't give me the marks, and her direct words were, "You'll never become an engineer." So that kind of built a fire inside me, and I wanted to not only prove her wrong, but also prove to myself that I can do it. So the following year, I raised my GPA to about 4.0, and I was able to transfer to Ryerson University, where I graduated as an electrical engineer. Now, as I go through the list of the jobs I've ever had over the years, please pay attention to the various leadership and management styles, traits, as you should be doing this along your journey to learn and build your own identity and style. My first job after graduation was a startup company, working on a golf simulator. It was a very small company, only about 3-4 of us. My leader was very smart. He was a very smart entrepreneur and highly driven. He delegated a lot of the work to me, including supply chain, design, testing, QA, QC, etc. And sometimes I ended up working until 11 p.m. or midnight to ensure that the product goes out on time, not too much, and the customers will be able to have it. Although he wasn't, he didn't spend a lot of time with me giving me feedback because he was very quiet. So my next job was a short stint at a railway company. That didn't last too long, so I'm not going to get into details about my manager there. After that, I opened up my own company with a close friend of mine. This is where my passion as an entrepreneur started. I had an idea and I had a vision where I wanted to take the company. At our first job, we earned and we made $250. And we scaled that to $100K in 7 months, hiring 6 additional resources to work on larger projects, which I led. And we had a $3 million opportunity overseas, which I declined. That's a story for another video. But I soon learned that friendship and businesses don't work well together. And it might work for some people, but very rarely. So be careful of that. My next job was I got hired as a technical sales engineer to provide support. Engineering support. My manager at the time saw that I had potential and asked me to try sales. He said I had the right attitude and challenged me. In that job, I learned how to communicate with customers, get over my fears of cold calls and rejection, and took advice from various leaders in various manufacturing companies. And that was my listening skills. As they said, mix your engineering degree with a business degree. So again, worked there for 2.5 years, and came upon applying for a utility company that I wanted to get into. So I worked in this utility company for 13 years as a project planner, taking on 20 projects, taking initiative, always looking for opportunities to improve processes, etc. Developed procedures, templates to help my team, as well as trying to make improvements as we go along. So again, I came across an opportunity where I saw a risk management. We had a gap in risk management, and we didn't have a proper process or identifying risk and mitigation plans, etc. So I took upon myself to go and tell my manager, look, I want to take this initiative. I want to create a risk management. I want to incorporate risk management into the planning that we're doing for projects, because I'm seeing a lot of these risks that we're not identifying, or we're not discussing, or we're not mitigating. And his answer was, don't worry about it. No, leave that to the professionals or someone else. And that got outsourced to a consulting company. And I also went on my own, and I did a risk management course. And after that, after assessing what the consultant gave us, which was a document with a few pages that they charged millions of dollars for, it was something that I could have put together myself. But again, I want to show, and I want you guys to understand the leadership style and the management style, and not listening to your own team. Again, I will go into further details in my other videos and how important it is to identify potential for improvement and listening to your team for that. So I got an opportunity to do a rotation in another group after a year and a bit. So went there. I loved the work. I was doing planning work in our asset management department. And the manager there really liked me. He was very hands-off. He let me kind of grow, and he just supported me from the back. And he just gave me the work, and he said whatever support I needed, I'd go to him. He would sit in meetings with me, super calm guy, and he helped me progress and grow. So as my rotation was ending, he offered me a full-time position. I wanted to accept it. However, my manager from my original group declined this and sent him an email stating that he wanted me back because I was taking care of a lot of projects against my will, and without me knowing that this email was sent. However, the manager in this place, in the asset management division, actually let me see that email. So as I built a close relationship with them, because again I was doing a lot of work helping them out, and I found that to be very discouraging, and it killed my motivation a bit. But again, I went there having to prove to myself that I could do this work, move forward, just put this behind you, and there'll be other opportunities. And this just creates more frustration, disappointment, and sometimes for some people it'll create resentment, which you don't want from your employees. And my original manager was, he had, this individual had an ego, very little feedback, no recognition, no FaceTime with staff. And again, these are important, as I'll talk about these in further detail in my future videos. My next step was a program management role, looking after a $150 million portfolio. And I want to talk about, I had a supervisor and a manager. I worked directly with my supervisor, but I reported to my manager, and I want to showcase the two different styles. So for me, my manager was a leader, my supervisor was a micromanager. My manager was one of the first people one of the first leaders, true leaders that I've seen within the company that gave me a lot of face-to-face time, took me for lunch, coffee, talked to me, motivated me, encouraged me, even though things weren't going too well with the supervisor. There was a lot of barriers put in place. I was traveling around the province, and I didn't have sufficient funds in my credit card to make gas purchases, and I almost got stuck up north in the middle of nowhere once, and that kind of got me frustrated and angry because it put me at risk. And when I came back and I spoke to my supervisor about increasing my credit limit, there was a lot of hesitation for doing it, and I actually got a no answer, which I didn't appreciate. When talking to my manager, he made it happen right away, and we bypassed it. He bypassed whatever that he had to do to get me that extension of credit. He was very sincere, he was very supportive, but above all, he was caring. He was caring about my safety, and that's what's important. As a person on the other side now, you have to see these things from your current leaders or managers, and again, see what are they doing well, what are they not doing well, so when you get into that opportunity, you can pick and choose now what you need to do. And then my next stint was a project manager, looking after about $60 million worth of projects. My manager at the time was very approachable, had a sense of humor, very calm, provided recognition, no micromanagement, very supportive. And again, that style really resonated with me, and I said, wow, because a lot of people in this group respected him. And I saw that, and I said, that's very important to have. These are the traits that you want to have as a leader, right? It's important to take care of your employees. And again, I'll get into this further in my videos, and I'll go into more detail with it. So my first leadership role was in a standards group looking after 20 plus employees. And in that role, it was, I don't want to say I was scared, but I've never been in an official leadership position in a company, in an organization, so it was very new to me. And you don't get an instruction manual or training prior to, and that's something I spoke to my leaders about afterwards, that training should be provided prior to you getting into a leadership role versus after you're in the role already. So the first thing I did is get to know my employees. I sat down with them one-on-one. I created a questionnaire kind of document, and I talked to them about how things were going, what the gaps were, what they liked, what they didn't like, and what they want to see more of. And I will post some of those questionnaires on some of my sites, my social media sites, for you guys to have samples of. So a couple of things I looked at was, productivity savings. How can we save some money for the company? How can we boost engagement? how can we conduct more team building activities. So I focused on those as a part of recognition and engagement. I developed my own things, again learning some from previous managers and leaders, but also developing some of the initiatives on my own. So one of the things I started doing is we had access to everyone's. I had access to everyone's birthdays, so I put that in my calendar, and I would get everyone a birthday card, and I would just put like a small gift card with it, as as an appreciation. And it's very important. Again, it's a very it's a personal touch to for your employees to know that you actually care about them, and you care when their birthdays are, and you actually at least say happy birthday. It goes a long way. Those small things go a long way. And again, we conducted team building activities, going out to dinner, having some drinks after work, with dinner with some of the employees, with the whole team. Pretty much, we invited the whole team, but sometimes not everybody can make it. So whoever that came out, we had a lot of fun. And again, remember, as a leader, you have to be part of that. You cannot just set something up and not show up. So you got to make sure you dedicate your time and spend that with your team. And again, one thing I learned in this role that was super critical and crucial for me, and I've been using it ever since that role, was before I came in, I was warned about a certain individual that, from a perception perspective, they weren't engaged. They were showing up late to work, and they were painted as a bad employee from certain people in the company. However, my interactions with this person, I felt otherwise. So for me, it was very important to understand, what was going on, why this person was perceived by others to be a bad employee, where I've seen them go above and beyond. They were doing their work, and this all alluded to them being, coming to work late sometimes. So I had a one-on-one with this individual after a certain time. We built that relationship of trust. And again, I'm going to get into the word trust and the importance of trust with your employees in other videos. But I wanted to kind of briefly go over this particular incident. So for me, it was important to find the root cause of why this person was late. So after building that trust and being able to have an open dialogue with the person, this individual was able to share something very personal with me, and I now found the root cause of why this was happening, and it was very legit. And so what I have to do as a leader at that point is protect my employee from other people perceiving this in a negative way. So it was my job to protect my employee. So, understand what's going on. It's not for you to share with anyone else on the team, because it's none of anyone else's business. As long as you know what's going on between you and that employee, no one else needs to know. And, it was justifiable, and I could go up to my superiors and justify, that this employee was in fact not a bad employee, but there was underlying issues that needed to be addressed. So again, I will talk about that and the importance of that as a leader. So I call that, the bad employee versus reality. I also created 3 supervisory roles to help employees develop leadership skills. So again, we had an opportunity. It was a big group. We wanted to kind of, the group was already divided out, but there was a lack of that leadership on top. And instead of me, looking after everyone, I could have built a layer so I could also teach that leadership and pass that leadership skills to, future leaders of this company. And I went up against some resistance, but again, I was able to put a good business case together, put a strategy, and justify the reasons, and I got approval from my leader, and I was able to make this happen, and it actually worked out really well. And they are still leaders in the company at this time. So I want to also talk about, my leader at the time, the individual that was leading me, did a fantastic job in terms of communication. I learned a lot of communication, and this individual was very caring. Talked to me on a regular basis to see how things were going, making sure that everything was going well. And again, the caring part, I actually learned from this individual, and it helped me a lot. Again, in my future roles as a leader. And again, we took a lot of initiative. The productivity, savings, innovation and creativity is super, super important wherever you are. Again, it's about making things better. It's about helping the company's vision, goals, and if you can save some money, and if you can be more productive, be safer, that adds a lot of value. So I did that with this team, and I had great people that had so much knowledge and so much passion about this, within this topic and this area, that once we created these initiatives, they just ran with it. And our group got tapped on the shoulder by the vice president of the department, of the organization, saying, okay, here's some of the initiative that I want you guys to look after, because they saw how engaged my team was. So just touching up on the engagement part as well, our company, our organization was doing the Gallup Q12 surveys during these years. So again, this was an opportunity to see how each manager, it came down all the way to the level of the first manager, the first layer of manager, and how they did, what their scores were relative to the company, to their department, and to the industry as well. So I was very, I was very humbled to see that I had one of the highest scores of engagement, not only within my department, but within the organization and within the industry itself. So that was a humbling experience, and that also showed me the importance of engagement and the results it produced as a team. So again, I will talk about engagement is a big topic when it comes to leadership. So I have a few videos with respect to engagement that I'll walk you through as well. I would get is discipline, they're not doing well, blah, blah, blah. Go down the road of discipline without actually finding out what the real cause is. Again, if you listen to what I said earlier, for me it was important to find the root cause of these issues. So one of the individuals actually had 3 incidences within a week or a week and a half or something like that, and this was really, it was out of the ordinary, and no one has that kind of incidences. And this wasn't a junior person. They were pretty senior. Although they required some training in certain spots, this wasn't like them to kind of cause multiple incidences in that short period of time. So again, it was important to use that trust that you built with your team, and you pull them in and say, look, I pulled them in to my office and I said, look, put everything aside. What is going on? I need to know. If you want me to help you, you need to be open and honest with me, or else we're going to go down the wrong path. And there's going to be a lot of disciplinary actions coming as a result of these. So this individual, and remember, these are tough field workers that show very little emotion at all times. And this person broke down in my office. I'd never seen that before. And it was a touching moment where somebody's able to share that kind of private information with you. To say, look, this is what's going on in my life right now. And you can tell that this was true because you can see what's going on in his work. And you could see that his focus wasn't there. So again, you have to understand that. That's the part of the empathy that you really need to have as a leader. If you don't have that, you'll never become a good leader. And again, that's just my opinion. But I've worked with so many people that I see that the leaders with empathy have a different connection with their employees than people who don't have that. It's about caring for your people. So instead of disciplining this individual for the 3 incidences, I said, look, you're going to take time off work as of right now, and you're going to go seek help. So they actually did that. And I kept getting calls on a regular basis while this person was away, just thanking me over and over again for helping them out. So that's very important. You need to pay attention to your people. You need to find out what root causes are. And if somebody's going down the wrong path, you have to find out why. What is that reason? So very important. You have to give your people a second chance sometimes. Again, with the second person, that individual also broke down in my office and came clean with me. And you got to remember that everybody has issues in some part of their life. So you have to understand that, and you have to give people a break, and you have to help people. And it's your job as a leader to help. That's what you're there for. So keep that in mind, please. Again, in these roles, you have to be able to have the difficult conversations with people. I learned that in this role. I had to suspend an employee for what they did, multiple things that they've done over time. Again, going through the processes, understanding that, again, progressive discipline versus just discipline right away. And innovation. Again, in this role, I was able to get the team engaged enough to come up with innovative, tools, methodologies to help, again, the organization and our line of business specifically, which helped out. And my last role in this utility company was a senior manager, again, looking after 30 employees. Some of the things I'll touch up on is development plans, very important. There's people that are not in the right roles. So again, you have to assess that as you come in as a leader. You step back. You look at the big picture, and you say, okay, are people in the right role? It's one thing for you to see, but it's also for you to ask. Are they happy doing what they're doing? Are they challenged? So I was able to actually take a few people and switch them in various groups to get them more engaged. And that got them challenged. I challenged them more, and they enjoyed that. But that didn't happen before me asking them and kind of seeing that, yeah, they're right. They've got all this potential, and it's just being wasted. They're just been put in the corner doing, very minimum kind of style of work. So very important. Again, this group that I was leading was an excellent group. However, because of the large size of our organization, they weren't well known to the other lines of businesses. So again, my idea was, why don't we put together a marketing group and come up with ideas and market yourselves to the other teams. And again, it's not me doing the work. I come up with some of the ideas, we brainstorm, we put a team together, we made it an initiative, we made it a project, and we've set timelines to this project, and away you go. And once you're done, you execute it. You can't just plan without executing it. So that execution is very important. You can't, you can strategize all day if you want. Without execution, it's nothing. I'll talk about that as well. And also, I was able to create a new team where I saw a major risk. Again, talking to a lot of people that worked with this group, there were specific risks that weren't being mitigated, and it was just getting bigger and bigger. So we were able to put a team together. I got my manager's approval at the time. Again, my manager in this case was at a director role. To me, he was a true leader. He was a true leader in the organization. I had a great relationship with this individual, and they're super innovative, very caring. They had great communication skills. They had a vision. That was so important. A leader needs to have a vision. I'll talk about that as well. And this individual had a vision where he wanted the group to go. And I just helped them with that vision. And again, you delegate that, and you kind of you have to communicate that vision with the team. And once they understand how they fit within that vision, away you go. So again, I learned a lot from this, from my leader in this role as well. And again, this was during the COVID times where you didn't have face-to-face time with your team. That interaction in person didn't exist. It does not mean you should stop talking with your team. So I had video calls with them. We had team meetings on a regular basis. I checked up on them, especially during COVID, to see how they were doing. Mental health is another big part. It's very, important for me as an individual. As I've dealt with mental health back, in my life, and I can relate. So it's very important. This is something I take very serious, and I talk about this with my teams wherever I go. So again, it's very important for you to check up on the health of your team. Super important. And again, innovation was critical in this role, and we were able to kind of do a lot of innovative work. As once you get the team engaged, all that stuff will come. Engagement will produce productivity, innovation. Again, I will touch upon this in great detail in my future videos, but remember that engagement is super important. So after I left the utility company after 13 years, I joined a private company where I became the VP and the GM of this private company that's been around for 40 years. Again, what do I do the first thing when I come in? Interview the entire team, including the owners, including the management team. Looked at deficiencies. What were the gaps? What were people telling me, and what did I see? Looking at people's strengths and opportunities for improvement. It was the first time in my career that I actually had to fire 3 people by the end of that role. But again, it was an experience, and I'll talk about that in the HR portion of my episodes. So again, at that level, you're looking at more of the financial side. The estimates we were sending out could make those opportunities for improvement there. There was a lot of little gaps that needed improvement. So again, it's building those strategies now and executing those strategies and getting people involved in those strategies. One thing I'm going to talk about is creating expectations. So every role that you get into, always create those expectations up front. So I was able to, create expectations for this team, get them to have a dress code where people come in shorts and a t-shirt. And if you're talking in front of customers, 2 customers on a regular basis, that's not very professional. And for me, you have to represent the company in a professional way, especially if you're getting in front of customers on a regular basis. And also, I was able to implement the hybrid model and have a development plan for people. And in terms of customers and making sure they're happy, I actually asked my customers for feedback with respect to my sales team and my project management team, so I can assess what they think versus what I do, and put that together in the feedback sessions for my team. So with that, we were able to scale the revenues of the company, and we grew the team, and I had a great team, and again, super engaged, super knowledgeable, and it was an opportunity, again, looking at people, were they in the right roles. We did switch some people around that weren't in the right roles. So again, you have to, as a leader, look at all those when you come in, and I will walk you through all the areas of leadership in more detail, so you can see how everything you can put everything together. So that will wrap it up for this episode, as I will be discussing leadership in more detail and go through the skills required to become a successful leader in my next episode. I greatly appreciate your time, and please subscribe to this channel if you found it useful. Send me your comments, questions, feedback, and remember, you don't need a title to lead, and a title doesn't make you a good leader. So get out there and practice your leadership skills. Till next time, take care.